Today's project will require the use of your colored pencils, a regular pencil, and a piece of white paper. I want to give some credit here to the Merry Making blog, and the idea for this project that came from this blog. You can see here the llama idea, and I really like what she did is she used watercolor paints and she did it over top of, I believe it was oil pastels, but you could use regular crayons to create these different patterns. Then she took the watercolor paints over top for the background. She did the llama separately on a different piece of paper and glued it on top of the background fabric. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can do this art project if you have different media available to you. Be creative and do your own method, but here's some pretty cute ones that they came up with. Hi class, it's Mrs. Latinsky. Today's art project is going to focus on the artwork in a country called Peru that's in South America. This art form is really old. It started around 10,000 years ago. It's a form of weaving, which creates all kinds of fabric materials like clothing and decorative items as well in bright, colorful forms. It's made in the mountainous region of the Andes and often uses materials from sheep and also the fur of a local important animal called the llama, also the alpaca, which is a relative of the llama. The people there still continue to make this ancient art form and hand create these fabrics by dyeing them with local vegetable materials into these really bright and gorgeous colors that I want to experiment with and weave them into gorgeous designs. In today's art project, we're going to be talking about the element of art color because how could we talk about it with these vibrant colors in these artworks? And we're also going to be talking about the principle of design pattern because there's a lot of patterns repeated in their textiles. Here's an example from the Amana Museum in Lima, Peru. This particular example, it's around 2,000 years old. It's woven alpaca or llama wool. It's been dyed all these natural colors that you can still see in the designs that people make in the traditional forms today. Notice how vibrant these colors are and intense they are. Intensity is the amount of pigment in the color and how bright and bold it is, and their colors are so bright and bold. So I first want to share Grace's example with you of a llama. What we have here is just the head and neck of a llama. In the foreground, in the background, we have that really elaborate Peruvian fabric, and she actually gave little tassels to hers and didn't fill the whole page, which was really clever. You can see a repeated pattern. We've got a triangle, up, down, up, down, up, down pattern, and some little squares repeated throughout here. She used a lot of geometric shapes and bright, bold colors. We've got oranges and purples, and she's going for some really vivid colors. Here's Lizzie's example of the llama. She did a full llama shot, not just its head and neck, the whole body of the llama. To draw a llama, we're going to do our paper in portrait orientation up and down. This is just the llama head. And we're first going to do the llama, and then we'll work our way back into the background. We're going to divide this paper up lightly. So halfway through the paper, you're going to use your ruler or a book or whatever you need to use to get a line. We're going to do one line there, so we have it halfway. Now we're going to do it again halfway from each of those lines. So that means we're going to have it in quarters. That's okay. You don't have, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we are using these lines to help guide us. We're going to do it one more time, and we're going to divide each of these one more time. I ended up having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections, and they're all pretty even, but it's not perfect. Okay, now we can use these sections to help guide us as to where this llama's head's going to go. The llama's head, I'm going to start with here. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. In the third chunk is where his little head's going to go, the top of his head. And that kind of goes about halfway, and it's sort of like just a little arch like that. So now you've drawn the top of the llama's head. It can be flatter than that if you want. Okay, and then at the edges is where we're going to do his ears. Now the llama ears are roughly kind of, they almost go straight up, almost straight up. It's kind of like a little bit of a curve inward. And then you have quite a bit of a curve down, like that. Okay, this here is going to do the same thing. So almost all the way straight up, but a little bit of a curve to it. And then this one goes all the way curved down. And now by the sides of the ears, we're going to go straight down and make his head. I'm going to go down to this line with his little cheeks, and they curve in here, but that's not done because he's going to have this chin. And his chin's going to be around here somewhere. He's got a chin. So you have a semicircle here and a semicircle here going in opposite directions. Down the middle of the face, and you just draw a line. What we're going to do is make a W. It goes up like that. And this one goes up like that. So we're starting to make his snout and nose. And then the nose has a little semicircle right there. And a little bigger semicircle there. And a little bigger semicircle there. It goes up. Last thing, he has a little mouth. It's going to be kind of open like that. Now llamas have these big, adorable eyes, and they're off to the side of their head. It's interesting, their llama eyes are so far off to the side of the head. So far they kind of seem to stick off the side of the head. So right below the ear, we're going to draw an eye, and the eyes are pretty rounded, but they kind of come to a point at the edge, and they almost seem to kind of like go off the side of the head. So they go pointed near the top of that nose, and off to the side, just like that. And then I might even kind of make them go like off the side of the head, because why not? That's how they seem to. And they come to a point on the edge. And then the llama's eyes have these long eyelashes, and they kind of go down a little bit there. I like to start its neck like halfway through its face, and it pretty much goes down straight, but a little bit off to an angle. It doesn't have to be perfect because he's furry, so it doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line. Inside the ears, kind of go like that if you want to do those. They follow the basic shape. Don't be upset if the lines don't exactly match where mine are. I put them there to help you, but if they made you more confused, don't worry about them at all. And actually now that we've drawn the llama, it's good to go in and erase the lines that are on top of the llama, because the llama is actually in front. Remember, we're talking about foreground and background here. The llama is in the foreground, in front of the lines of this Peruvian fabric. Llamas are all kinds of colors. They look like they're black and tan and brown, or some are just white, it looks like. Llamas are pretty furry. That's what they make these fabrics out of. So make your llama nice and furry. Take all those edges and scribble a bit to show how furry this llama is. We want a nice and furry llama. Push harder to get that darker brown. My llama might have some patches of white. I'm going to just give him some white spots. And I'm going to draw my white spots first. That seems kind of funny, but then I know when I'm coloring in my llama with this kind of rough, squiggly, furry kind of coloring that I'm doing, that I don't go over those spots too much. But I'm going to go over them a little bit on the edges so that it doesn't look too perfect. I can even add some black spots just to make him interesting. He's going to have some black spots in here too, because he's going to just be a interesting colored llama. The eyes, you make really dark black, and you color in the whole thing, except for you could leave a little circle of white if you wanted to for a reflection. I like that the nostrils sort of point up at the edges. I might add a little nose there to give some depth, because it does have a nose that kind of goes back. Now we get to focus on the background. They don't have to be complex patterns. Just repeat throughout, because that's how they do them. You gotta decide where the pattern would go behind the llama and just keep it going. Okay, once you've created your patterns, now we're going to do those really bright, vibrant colors they use, remember. Here he is, all completed, the llama on the Peruvian fabric background. Thanks for doing art with me today. I hope you enjoyed learning about Peruvian art and also a little bit about their local animal, the llama.